Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call our regular council meeting of Tuesday, October 11th to order. Welcome to all of those joining us online, live stream. We have an agenda in front of us. Mr. Coleman, do we have any additions or deletions from administration?
No additions or deletions from administration, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Balazer will move as presented. Thank you very much. Comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous. Moving on to item number 3, adoption of previous minutes. Councillor Wanchuk will move those as being accurate. Comments, questions? All in favor? Thank you. 4A is an opportunity for anyone in the public who would like to address the county council on an item that is not on the agenda can do so. I understand we have 2 speakers wanting to do that today. So come forward. Yep. Come sit, have a chair, turn on the microphone and just state your name and your address for the record. Thank you, Garrett. And you have 5 minutes.
Michelle Mikulik, 23243, Township 484, Leduc County. I just wanted to address you to let you know that I understand there's a discussion regarding the current bylaw for dogs in the county, the amounts and dangerous dogs. And I'd like to advocate to have the current bylaw or a bylaw put in place on currently how many dogs are allowed on a property. There is an outstanding amount of illegal kennels operating in our county, and I really do feel it needs to be addressed. On October 2nd, on my property, while my daughter was out playing with her dog, we had one of the 18 pit bulls that lived next to us come onto our property, attack my daughter, and kill the dog. It took her right out of her arms. That place has been operating without a kennel license for, I think, 4 months now. There has been complaints, and I have, let it be known on my concern on the safety of my child playing in her own property, which can no longer happen. And I've pulled up from different counties and villages that have a dog bylaw, and the majority of them state, 3 dogs are allowed on their property, of course, with variances if you have more or whatnot. And to be able to impose a larger fine right now for a first offense, it's $250. I mean, I don't think that's going to deter anybody from having, a certain amount of dogs that they have an agenda for. I don't think anybody owns 18 dogs, pit bulls of that breed for, just to have as a pet. So I'm hoping that going forward that my voice will be heard and somehow we can change that so that my daughter feels safe to be able to play in her own yard, and I feel safe leaving the home and having her be able to be in the yard and play and not have a fear that a pit bull is going to come over and attack her again and kill another one of our dogs. That one dog has been removed off property, but there's still 17 more that pose a threat. As well as the pen enclosures. Once a dog's been deemed vicious or dangerous, there's a lot of counties out there in Chesmore, Rocky View, and so on and so forth that they have special pen requirements for a dog that poses a risk or has attacked or bitten in the past, right down to the fence being buried 30 centimeters in the ground with the bottom, top, locked at all times. I've been told that the dog didn't escape from its pen. However, if this dog is ever allowed on anybody's property for that matter, I think that it poses a huge risk to whatever community or municipality it's in. And maybe, if kennels are being constructed, that the development end, just like we have to have homes inspected, maybe these pens need to be inspected or the areas need to start being inspected a bit more so that everybody can feel safe in their own community. I don't want any child to ever have to go through what my daughter went through, and I'm sure it's going to scar her for a long time coming. And in the meantime, we're seeking to get her some help to heal from all this. But I really hope that you guys will take in consideration to put a number on dogs that are allowed on a property and to give kennels maybe a little bit deeper look when they're being requested at the county for a permit and development of that.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of council, certainly we are so sorry that happened, and it must have been a terrifying ordeal for your daughter. Do we have any clarifying questions for the presenter? I'm seeing none. Your presentation was clear. We understand what your ask is. So what we will do is we will refer that back to our administration. They will provide you with a response, and certainly if you keep your eye on our agendas, you'll see if the bylaw comes back up for discussion. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe it's Miss Nielsen. There you are. Thank you, and you have 5 minutes.
Sure, thank you. You need my name and address?
Yes, please.
So Karen Nielsen, 50351 Range Road 225. And I'm here today just as a reminder of the impact of the wedding and event venues that have been put up in our community and the impact it's having on surrounding residents. So Mayor and members of council, Aspen Valley Wedding and Events was placed in the middle of our agricultural community, right next to our homes and our families and our livestock. This wedding entertainment venue is classified as discretionary use, and therefore a temporary permit was issued for 2 years, plus a 1-year extension by the Subdivision Appeal Board for the county to assess its impact on this community. The impact over the past 3 years has been a negative and detrimental one, as evidenced by the enormous number of complaints and concerns of surrounding residents, the photos and sound evidence provided to the county, and complaints reported to enforcement. This business has continually operated against conditions set forward on the permit, has not operated in an ethical and perhaps abusive manner, for lack of a better term, and has continually shown nothing but disrespect for this community. Conditions placed on this business permit have not protected us and have not or cannot be enforced. Simply put, this type of business is toxic in a rural community. One question is why the county appears to support these types of businesses, allows this owner to keep reapplying for subsequent permits at its current location with extended hours of operation. Operating on this temporary permit has shown this business has failed, period. From the onset, this owner should have known that after this trial period, if considered a failure in its location, that he would not be permitted to operate further. Based on the repeated and flagrant violations of permit condition, this permit should be null and void, this venue should be closed, and all remaining structures of this business should be removed, not to resurrect in another form. These entertainment wedding venues are not appropriate businesses right next door to homes, families, and livestock. Our home is less than 85 meters away from this venue, and the impact on us is significant. It has taken away our quality of life. Our personal and professional lives have suffered. Homes 600, 900 meters and as far as 1.4 kilometers are impacted by the noise alone, let alone all the other problems reported. People in this community are tired, frustrated, and don't have the time to keep sending in letters, emails, and make phone calls to the county to report problems and concerns with this business repeatedly. How many appeals do we have to attend, send in letters to try to put a stop to these types of businesses that affect our quality of life? People feel that they're not being heard and concerns are ignored. The change in the land use bylaw that allowed for these types of businesses to operate happened very quickly without the community's knowledge, and as a result, this business entered our community and has been nothing but destructive. Those in the community surrounding this facility request that council and the county revisit the land use bylaw with proper public participation. We request that council consider a moratorium on any further permits going forward related to these wedding and event venues that are discretionary use, until public participation opportunities are provided to residents who live in the county to provide their input. This would make residents who call Leduc County their home feel like they are finally heard, and that council and the Leduc County administration are listening and acting in the best interest of residents, rather than allowing rogue business developers who just use our county for party venues and their profit at the detriment of those who call Leduc County home. We would feel that the county's best interest is the preservation of the agricultural community and the quality of life for families. We want our quality of life back and our quiet agricultural community to return for current and future generations.
Thank you. Thank
sorry.
you. That's your 5 minutes.
Oh, is that done? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any clarifying questions? Seeing none, I believe, and I'm going to turn to Mr. Coleman. We are in the process of looking at getting input on our land use bylaw, or we're going to be just directly going forward. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Chair.
So keep posted. There will be opportunities for input on the land use bylaw. We will refer your letter, of course, to administration for a response.
Can I submit?
Absolutely.
I have just some photos. They're black and white. I apologize, but So the policy.
Thank you very much. And to both of our speakers, thank you for taking the time to address us today. We appreciate that it is your time and we have heard you and we understand your concerns. So thank you. I'm looking for somebody to move the presentations just for information. Councillor Lewis, thank you. All in favor? That is unanimous. Okay, on to 4B, service awards. We have two, Mr. Coleman and then Mr. Broadbent.
Madam Council, or Madam Mayor, members of council, it's my pleasure to recognize Michelle Edgerly's 5-year service with the county. Michelle started in the finance department in the reception area, so she got a firsthand accounting of what we did right and what we did wrong at the county on a regular basis, and swiftly made those calls go to the right places for resolution. Since her early start here, she's progressed the organization. She's now the executive assistant to county manager's office. So she keeps myself, Renee, and Alan organized on a regular basis. She's always quick to help wherever she's needed. She has a good understanding of the organization and supports in many ways that people don't see in the background. She does a lot to move the county forward. So it's my pleasure to recognize your 5 years of service and look forward to many more years. Come on over here.
What? Thank you. You do everything with such good humor and a positive attitude to do that. Say it that way. Mr. Broadbent.
No. Madam Mayor and Council, it is my absolute pleasure to recognize Mr. Lenny Marshall for 30 years of service as a grader operator for Leduc County. Lenny is in Division 6, so down in Glen Blauser's area, down Pigeon Lake, bordering on Brazeau County, County of Tasman. Lenny does an exceptional job grading roads. Lenny has went through our grader operator training, and Lenny has some challenges down in his roads. We have some exceptionally large producers and farmers down in that area, and Lenny is absolutely always open to open up his grader door, talk to the dairy farmer of the area and say, hey, can you help me out with this road? And Lenny's the first one there to help him out. So with that, I just want to recognize Lenny Marshall for 30 years of service. He is an exceptional part of our grader operator group. I know he and our grader foreman, Dwayne Eagle, have a pretty special relationship, and Dwayne can lean on Lenny for some input after 30 years. So with that, I'd like to recognize Lenny Marshall.
Everybody loves the grader. Thank you very much. Thank you for at least 10 more. Okay, thank you. Moving on to number 5A1, which is from Assessment Services Reserve Values for 2022 tax sale. Ms. Bernand, the floor is yours when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Council, Administration. Report before you is reserve values for 2022 tax sale November 2nd at 10 a.m. As per Section 419 of the Municipal Government Act, the council must set for each parcel of land to be offered for sale at public auction a reserve bid, as well as the conditions that apply to the sale. There are 3 properties that are currently on the tax sale list. They're before you with the reserve bids. And I will invite you to accept the recommendation.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the recommendation? This is a yearly report, is it not, Ms. Burnett?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, so Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. Are all these property owners aware that this is going to a tax sale
Yes, they have been notified.
and no reply back from them yet?
Correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Again, hopefully these items are cleaned up before you go to tax sale. When was the last time you had a tax sale?
Not last year, but the year before.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, looking for someone to put a motion on the floor. Councillor Smith.
Recommendation is the council accept the reserve valuations for the applicable properties, set the terms and conditions apply to these properties that will be for tax sale. Thank you for that. Do you want me to repeat? I will. Recommendation, council accept the reserve valuations for the applicable properties and set the terms and condition that apply to these properties for tax sale.
Thank you. And the table is in the report. Any further questions? Seeing none, no debate, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Van Beers, we're going to go to 5B, which is the advertising of municipal lands for agricultural use lease. The floor is yours when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, council members and administration. I'm bringing forward a recommendation to approve the following list of municipal lands to be advertised as available for proposals to lease. This is something that occurs every 5 years. The previous term is expiring at December 31st of this year. We have performed assessments of some of these municipal lands and identified those that still may be of benefit as an agricultural use. We have made these properties available for ag use lease, really for two main reasons. One is to reduce the maintenance requirement on these lands of our own staff, and to provide the agricultural benefit and use of those lands to those individuals that can use the land appropriately. So in the past, many of these have been itemized and outlined either for cropping, grazing, or for haying, or some combination of those. We have identified many of these ones in the past which were allowed for grazing use, and we have made an administrative decision to not allow those to go forward. Yeah. Most of them haven't been used for grazing. A lot of them, the fencing and the grazing requirements are not there. One particular instance, they are accessing creek for watering, and we felt that was probably not an appropriate activity to go forward with. We do have a few that are still available for cropping, particularly the one on Airport Road, southeast of 16, which is a fairly large property. As I said, the current leases will expire December 31st of this year. The current lessees have already been notified of the upcoming end of their lease agreement and will be notified each individually of when if these do become available for advertisement, then they'll be alerted personally that those ones are available again. And I guess one other thing, any of the cultivated and cropped land, so annual cropping, we do require a minimum bid of $58 per acre per year for those, just to make it reasonable. And that's it.
So, Mr. Van Beers, when people take over the lease, then they take over managing weeds and all of that. So that's no longer our responsibility, and they could get a weed notice despite it being county property.
As part of the lease agreement, they are responsible for the maintenance of those, yes.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Lewis?
Thank you. A number of these appear to be in subdivisions. Has there been any history of any problems with these properties being managed and taken care of?
No, not to my knowledge that we've had any serious concerns regarding them. Most people are usually the only concern is if they haven't been cut. Where we would come in, we would cut it at least 2 times a year. When people are harvesting it for hay, they're usually only doing it the one time. So that maybe early on, they might be concerned that, you know, the grass is growing, but in terms of the actual use of that property, there hasn't been any concerns from the subdivision neighbors.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Are the
councillors.
residents within the subdivision given a contact number for these people? Should they have a problem with the length of the
Usually they will contact us if there is an issue, and then we can address it appropriately if those ones are leased.
Okay.
So because it is still municipal lands, that we are still the ultimate, we have the ultimate responsibility for those.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none. So we're looking for a recommendation to be able to move this forward so that we can get the proposals for lease. Councillor Scobie?
Turn on mic first. The Leduc County Council approved the following list of municipal lands, municipal reserves, and miscellaneous properties to be advertised as available for proposals to lease for agricultural use for a 5-year term, January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2027.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. I have a supplemental question, Mr. Van Beers. If I maybe lease for 2 years and then something changes and I'm not leasing, what happens? Do I let you guys know and you put out a shorter term lease on that, or how does that work?
Madam Mayor, in the past, what we have done is whether the person renting it or perhaps the municipality itself may need that piece of property. Within the agreement, there is a clause to allow for the termination of the lease by either party. And then we can address it going forward from there. And the most recent ones that we've had that have been canceled, we have taken back into our possession and our responsibility to do. But I would say that if there was a short-term turnaround and it was available, we would make that available until the 2027 end date.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I really appreciate that this is being used for agriculture. I mean, some of the parcels are pretty small, but for a hobby farmer who might have a few goats or some sheep or a couple of horses, being able to access this land if you have no other land, cuts down your cost and helps us keep a real rural kind of perspective. So really appreciate it. Motion is on the floor. Any further comments, questions, or debate? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, moving into 5C, which is planning and development appeal double permit fee. And you are not Mr. Bain, but come on forward anyways. Welcome, Mr. Neff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this one it's a short report. We received concerns from a councillor that pole shed was being built on the property with no permits. We investigated and we had applications for development permit and for building permit, but they weren't issued yet.
Okay.
So we sent the building inspector out. He hung a red stop notice on, talked to the contractor. Contractor wasn't aware that the permits weren't issued yet. He stopped and he left. And it took a few days to get all the information and payment so that we could issue the permits.
Okay. The report was much longer. Go ahead, Councillor Smith.
I was the counselor that received complaints on it. I believe my fellow counselor had also received some complaints. So when people start a building without a permit, there's a lot of work that goes in. I had to engage with probably several people in planning and development. I know there were a lot of trips out. The phone rang for a month until it came together. So we always like people to comply and have a building permit for a reason. The extra work that went on, I can't in good conscience ask all the taxpayers to pay extra fees. So I would be moving the recommendation today to refuse the request to refund the double building permit fee charged for starting construction without a permit as Leduc County fees and charges bylaw on permit number, and it's in here, just I would get it for you. Thank you for
Or
bearing
maybe
with
Mr.
me.
Neff has it. I don't.
Do you have the permit number?
I'm not seeing.
I-
Oh, there it is. Roll number.
I actually don't.
It's on the letter.
Yes, it is.
Sorry for that.
That's okay. Would you like the permit number in your
I
motion?
think it should be probably.
Permit number B220090.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to not refund the double permit fee. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. Can you explain the double permit fee? How did they get charged twice?
Through the chair, if they start without, you mean, how do they get, how do we establish what the fee is?
Well, they were charged twice for a fee. I'm just wondering how they were charged twice, just for clarity's sake.
Okay, it's a penalty in the fees and charges bylaw. So we calculate the fee like we normally do and we double that.
Thank you. I will support Councillor Smith's motion. It's unfortunate, and there's always circumstances behind. But as a builder and a landowner in the county, we need to be aware that we have permits for a reason. We have inspections for a reason. And I will be supporting the motion to not refund. Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. I too will support the motion today. There's rules that are set out. They're clear. They knew that they had a permit in and they had to wait for them, and their scheduling of their contractor, which sounded like was very quick. I'm sure they could have waited 3.5 days to give them the go ahead to start. So I will be supporting today's motion.
Thank you. I am seeing no other hands up, so I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Knapp.
Thank you.
On to Mr. Honesty. 5D 1 and 2.
Good afternoon. We have presented and reviewed updated policies for council sponsorships and council grants. This policy was rewritten in 2018 with some changes to our processes and clarifications. It is due for review, and we have completed that review with our policy committee as well as through administration. So we have recommended only structural changes, no changes to the core intent of the policy itself. The changes that were made in 2018 seem to be working quite well related to setting deadlines and then having this committee itself review. So far we believe it's working, and we recommend approval of both policies.
Thank you. I'm going to turn to the chair of policy committee, Councillor Scobie, see if he has anything else on CC02 councillor sponsorships or CC03 council grants.
Pretty straightforward. It was just basically their 4-year review. I understand they were working quite well. They maybe streamlined a little bit, but there was no changes really. So it looked like it was a good policy to bring forward and get back going for another 4 years.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Would you like to make that motion, Councillor?
Yes, I would.
Scobie?
Yeah, I would make a recommendation that Leduc County Council approve the following revised policies: CC02 council sponsorships and CC03 council grants.
Thank you very much. And as you said, Mr. Honesty, we've had 3-4 years to work through them, and they seem to be meeting our needs. Are they pretty transparent for people looking at them? Like when you do have someone come in and maybe ask questions, does the policy help to explain our position?
It is. There's also multiple options we can refer them to, specifically recreation grants. We still have recreation grants, but there's a specific opportunity for these council related direct grants.
Good news. All right, I'm not seeing any more hands up, so I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to 5D 3, which is C001 public participation policy. Ms. Klamosko.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I have a recommendation in front of you today that council approve the public participation policy C0-01. The reason for this policy to come forward is to align the policy with our approach to public participation and with that we have supporting documents, including our framework, guide, and workbook. So a little background on the policy. Back in 2018, all Alberta municipalities were required to adopt a public participation policy, and we did so on July 3rd, 2018. In fall of 2020, we worked to formalize our approach to public participation, and we developed a supporting framework, guide, and workbook that we use administratively. Now, with this updated policy, it now reflects our current approach and the utilization of these framework documents. So on September 22nd, the Municipal Policy Review Committee reviewed the draft policy and forwarded it to council for their consideration. There were 2 attachments to the report. One was the new policy with no track changes, and a second attachment included all of the track changes from the original policy. I'm happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you very much. So this is a little bit of a need to have, and we've made it fit our needs. Is that what I'm hearing?
And I think with the adoption of that first policy, then I think we have taken some definitive steps to really formalize how we want to approach public participation in the county. So I think the development of these documents that we did back in 2020, we've really have established a program of how we do public participation in the county. So I think this is just, again, recognizing, I think, advancement that we've done with our public participation program.
Thank you. And certainly I support the tenets of IAP2. I think it's probably one of the most clear processes or programs for public engagement. I think it's clear. Any further comments or questions? I have a niggle. Sorry, number 2, the first two bullets are ending on a preposition. So sorry, the teacher in me couldn't let it go. So perhaps we can say required by legislation and councillor directed by councillor administration. So we're not ending on it. That's just my only, sorry.
We can absolutely make those changes.
And I don't like that, but I did. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead.
I just want to thank everybody that actually puts work in for policy. I don't do it, but strong policy is so important. So thank you for the work that the committee does and that administration does to bring back strong policy, because it's pretty easy to hide behind a really good policy when there's issues and the reason we conduct ourselves. So I just wanted to thank you. Not my forte, but I do need to live within those confines, and I do appreciate the extra effort that everybody does, even though I make light of it and make fun of you guys for actually being on a really important committee. I do appreciate the work, and I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
As our county manager always said, it's only the cool kids on policy committee anyway. So, and I'd be happy to move that council approve the public participation policy C001. Thank you for those kind words, Rick. No further comments or questions. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. On to new business 6A. Proclamations. Ms. Gavin, you have 2.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. The first one is a proclamation for Fire Prevention Week from October 9th to the 15th. We received a request through the website from Leduc County Fire Services to proclaim the week of October 9th as Fire Prevention Week, sorry. We have a policy in place, CC05. It provides the opportunity to recognize initiatives taking place in Leduc County, impacting the community in a positive manner through education awareness programs, charitable fundraising or similar, and helps to increase public awareness. And Leduc County has discretion to declare proclamation. It's before you.
Thank you. Looking for someone to make a motion on Fire Prevention Week. Councillor Wanchuk, that we proclaim the week of October 9 to 15, 2020 as Fire Prevention Week as requested by Leduc County Service Department. Okay. Comments or questions? All in favor? Shall I read the proclamation? It looks like a yes. I'm just going to scroll down. Fire Prevention Week proclamation. Leduc County is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our municipality. And fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally, nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire. And smoke alarms sense smoke well before you can, alerting you to danger in the event of fire, in which you may have as little as 2 minutes to escape safely. And whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in the reported home fires in half, and Leduc County residents should be sure everyone in their home understands the sound of smoke alarms and know how to respond. And Leduc County residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And Leduc County residents will make sure that their smoke and carbon monoxide CO alarms meet the needs of all family members, including those with sensory or physical disabilities. And Leduc Fire Services are dedicated to reducing the occurrences of home fires and home fire injury through prevention and protection education. And Leduc County residents that are responsive to public education measures are better able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And the 2022 Fire Prevention Week theme, Fire Don't Wait, Plan Your Escape, effectively serves to remind Leduc County it is important to have a home fire escape. Now, therefore, on behalf of council, I, Mayor Tani DeBlanco of Leduc County, do hereby proclaim the week of October 9 to 15, 2022, as Fire Prevention Week throughout this municipality. And I urge all the people of Leduc County to plan and practice a home fire escape for Fire Prevention Week 2022 and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of Leduc County Fire Services. Thank you. Dated today, Monday, October 12th, 2022. Thank you, Ms. Gavin. The floor is yours. Do we have one more?
This proclamation is for Small Business Week from October 17th to 21st, 2022. The Leduc County Economic Development Department also submitted a request for the proclamation of this week. Again, our policy is in place and Leduc County has discretion to declare the proclamation.
Okay, council, do we want to proclaim Small Business Week? And if we do, we'd like to put that motion on the floor. Councillor Lewis, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'd be happy to approve the recommendation that Leduc County Council proclaim the week of October 17th to 21st, 2022 as Small Business Week as requested by the Leduc County Economic Development Department.
Thank you. And we understand the importance of small businesses in our county, all the way from industry to agriculture, and know that they are one of the biggest employers that we have. So it's an important proclamation. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Thank you. So the proclamation for Small Business Week, whereas with small businesses accounting for over 95% of all businesses, employing over 10 million Canadians, Small Business Week celebrates the hardworking businesses and entrepreneurs that continue to find new and innovative ways to solve challenges and bring great ideas and new products to market. And whereas Leduc County Mayor and Council support the efforts of economic development and the business diversity of the Leduc County region and congratulate all our businesses on the sustainable growth and success. And whereas as a small business, look for events that are scheduled through various organizations and business leaders, industry experts, and advice, guidance, and support through bdc.ca. Let's all be extra diligent in our support of small businesses and put an extra effort to shop local and regional this October 17 to 22. Now, therefore, on behalf of council, I, Mayor Tani DeBlanco of Leduc County, do hereby hereby proclaim the week of October 17 to 21, 2022 to be Small Business Week in Leduc County, dated Monday, October 12th, 2022. Tuesday, October 13th, 2022. Whatever today is. We're starting today. Thank you. All right. I think that brings us to the end of our agenda. It does. We're on adjournment at 2:09. Thank you very much for everyone who joined us electronically. We are adjourned.